types of sports with shoot and tour. Football discussion on the internet.
Like I am doomed to be for the remainder of my existence. No tour, only shoot. No Monk, only shoot. No LeVar, only shoot. No Big O, only shoot. If you think shoot's the problem, you're probably right. But I'm still fucking here. And man, do we have some stuff to talk about today. Thank you for joining us on both types of sports, wherever you may be listening. If you are watching live on YouTube, please hit the like button. Consider becoming a member. There is a link pinned to the top of the chat. There is also a link in the bio. You get the entire back catalog. And if you are not listening on iTunes or Spotify, consider subscribing. We actually, believe it or not, with our meager little audience, we make a couple of ducats doing this show, and that is based on the amount of downloads we get over there. So even if you don't send a super chat or a Venmo or any of that shit, you could just go over and subscribe. And if you were feeling super duper generous, leave a 5-star review. Sean Salisbury is scheduled to join me in just a couple of few. We'll, boy, do we have a plethora of pinatas to discuss with Sal's. There have been some very salacious updates in this Azeez Al-Shaair suspension in the wake of his dirty hit on the quarterback for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Hilarious on X, all the mock tough guys that are over there. Just incredulous that any of this is happening. We live in a society. There's a lot to get to. I did not do a show last week. If you are in the chat and you want to shit on me for the results of the Titans-Commanders matchup, you are free to do so. If you want it on the screen, it will require a super chat. Danny Diaz, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. Tighten up, ho. Commanders can kick rocks. Commanders offense looked pretty unstoppable. The Titans defense has actually been pretty good all year. That was a very impressive performance. The great thing about being a Titans fan is they lose. I go on about the rest of my day. My weekend isn't shot. Fresh off his appearance over on Outkick, I was watching that and enjoying it. Never forget what a big deal Sean Salisbury is just because he slums it over here with us. It's just because he's a loyal guy, and we take advantage of that. My buddy Sal's, I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving, Sean Salisbury. How are you, my friend?
It was awesome, man. Thank you. I hope the same for you. You hear me all right?
I do indeed, sir. I saw you over on Outkick. I enjoyed your appearance there. I imagine it's been an incredibly busy week. And one of the things I love doing is doing local sports talk radio. You've done the national bit all the time. It's something that you're plugged into. But doing local, man, having the people that are rooting for the team calling in, sharing their opinions, it's always different energy. It's always a different vibe than you're going to get from the national perspective. The hit, the suspension, now the Instagram post, which we'll take a look at, I'm sure. How is that discussion going on your phone lines? How is that discussion going in Houston?
Oh, it's been the most, especially in a bye week when it's become the hottest topic, and it's one of the ones nationally, but it is obviously a major issue, topic, point of contention, conversation. There's so many layers to it. Outside of Houston, or if you're a Texans fan, I get why when you see the optics of, first of all, the hit. Let's look at the standalone hit. Yes, it should have been penalized. He should have been fined. The suspension, I think 3 games is too long because there's no. I mean, we change. Where's Waldo in all this? The guys that have been personal fouls over and over again, and I'm not condoning what Al-Shaair did, but personal fouls get no suspension. This guy has had no suspension. He's had personal fouls, and when you see the compilation, it's like put 5 or 6 plays together. The optics look shitty, and rightfully so. But if we gave, if we suspended guys 3 games for every personal foul they got, and then they had a hit, then there'd be a lot of guys in the league that would be suspended for 3 games. So you're telling me the next time a great player, let's say Micah Parsons, I'm sure he's had a personal foul or 2 in his career. if he hits a quarterback who's sliding feet first and happens to hit him in the head or throw a forearm to his chin, 3 games has got to be the suspension, right? And we've now put that there. Or is it going to be 1, or is it just, like I said, is it where's Waldo? So back to that, I get the suspension. I would have suspended him 2 as a guy who's a member of a union in the NFLPA. I would think that there'd got to be a better way to battle it. But I don't like when they challenge a guy's character. John Runyon was a good player, and he got a few late hits in as well. And I like John a lot. He's got a great, fun guy. But to say when you start to attack the guy's, a dirty player, attack character, let's just stick to what we saw and what we've seen in the past. It was vicious, and I felt horrible for Trevor Lawrence, and those things can happen. I think 3 games was too much. I do. But I also, Chad, I sit on the side of this. How do defensive players, how are they supposed to play?
Right.
Now, we know dirty players that diving at guys' knees. I look back and I think when I played in an era that Elway and Marino and Montana and Young and Favre, Jim Kelly, the list goes on and on of great players. Warren Moon. Weren't the rules okay then? Now, I understand the pocket. They could take 2.5 steps, hit you in the chin, and the refs would just say, hey, lay off him now, get off him. But now, the hits are and I'm not saying these quarterbacks are softer. Most quarterbacks, have you talked to a quarterback yet or ever anybody who plays it that loves the rules of the protection of the quarterback? We're overboard on it.
Yeah.
They make a lot of money, but it seems like we don't give a shit about the right guard blowing out his knee, but we do care about the quarterback getting hurt. I know they're the precious and all that, and I played the position. I wasn't one of those stars, but damn, when you break the pocket, I'll deal with the in-pocket stuff later on at another time for another conversation. But when you break the pocket, when are we going to keep the integrity of football? Well, when are we going to get to the point where you break the pocket, you actually become, now you're a football player. And you got to, when we were in the 7th grade, you learned how to put your shoulder down and run through somebody, or get down, on the shoulder pad, go down and take the side hit or get out of bounds. That's when you got to make smart decisions. I am adamantly against the foot slide. I think it's useless, and it's the shittiest way to protect yourself. Name me a guy who, when they go down, one hand goes to the ground and another one goes to the ball. Well, your head's always above the rest of your body when you go down. It's going to get hit first. Now, when a guy throws a forearm shiver, I'm trying to separate myself from the Al-Shaair and Trevor Lawrence. Yes, that should have been fined and suspended. 3 games is too fucking much. But when are we going to get to the point where the Patrick Mahomes 8 times a year okey doke fake step out of bounds going to? I would tell my players to knock the living dog shit out of him. I would. Or Josh Allen. They're big guys. I'm not saying just Mahomes, but if you're going to use that prestidigitation, sleight of hand and stuff against me, then the next time you step in bounds, I'm fucking you up. Not illegally, not with a helmet to the head, not at their knees. I'm not talking about dirty play. I'm talking about violent, physical, explosive play that's a clean hit, vicious clean hit. There ain't nothing wrong with that. That's football. And this is coming from a guy who played that position. But I can't scramble like they can. But when are we going to get to the point? I'm not inviting, trying to hurt a guy, but my goal is to separate you from the football if I'm a defensive player. And I'm damn well going to do it. So I don't subscribe to the defense gets hosed in every rule. There's so many layers. I want to go off on this. I think that the feet first slide's horseshit. They can't. It's all. Nobody practiced it growing up. The slide. You get your cleats caught. I blew out my knee the second time in college. Shredded my knee. Cleats got caught into grass, and I tore my ACL and shredded my entire knee, and didn't have an anterior cruciate the rest of my career, college or NFL. So I know injuries happen. You don't want them to. Got to guard against the cheap hit. But back in 1980, if a guy hit you helmet to helmet in the head and was late with the hit, we took care of it. And back then. And I talked to a couple offensive linemen since this happened. They policed it themselves. They would say, what number was that? And it's probably a good thing Al-Shaair did get kicked out of the game.
Yeah.
Because somebody would have gone, I'm telling you, I know guys who would have gone hunting, and they used to do that. Now, we don't want that. I'm not subscribing to that. But you tell me what the feet first, the guy's going for a first down, the defensive guy, and then when you don't hit a guy, what do the coaches say in Monday film? What the fuck are you doing? He's open game. Or you got to put the hit. You can't let him get a first down. You can't tiptoe around it. Or when Josh Allen, 6'5", 240, comes down and he gives you the old okey doke and you go flat-footed because you don't want to hit him. You think he's going to slide, and he puts his shoulder or helmet in between your rib cage and knocks the shit out of you. And then you become a GIF or a highlight film the rest of the time that everybody's laughing at and joking at, and you're getting punked. So safe, there's got to be rules. I know we're never going to go back. It's like giving the NFL a 9-carat diamond ring and then turning around and saying, we're going to give you cubic zirconia. You ain't going back on rules.
Right.
But I think the feet first slide is bad for the quarterback. I think it's bad for football. I think it's bad for defense. I sit 95% on the defensive player side. We overprotect quarterbacks. And you know what? Quarterbacks now, as good as they are, we don't give them the credit a lot of times they deserve, because the rules make us think they're pussies, and they're not. You know what? They do. They make it seem like but if I had the rule, we'd all take advantage of it, and they're not.
Right.
Josh Allen's tough. Mahomes is tough. Those guys, it takes courage to stand in there, but you use the rule to your advantage. So now we also find guys for legal vicious hits. I don't get it. You want to see a hit? Go back to Mike Tomczak when he was with Pittsburgh in 1995 against the Detroit Lions and watch that hit. Legal, vicious, and was hey, get back up. You got to go deal with it. Go back and look at that hit that Mike Tomczak took. I'm telling you, Google it, and you will be like, oh, hell, how's the guy not dead? So I don't like cheap shots, and we can police that, and the players police it, and we can do that. But the feet first, get rid of it. Become a football player at some point in time. What's next? I want to know what rules next to protect the quarterback that we don't already have in play. And I hate that Trevor Lawrence, you saw his arm clench up. I hated that.
Right.
That should have been. I think we're over, but 3 games seemed like a little too much because, well, we don't see that. But, we're trying to – they're sending a loud message, and I get it. But you may don't have to like it. I don't like people getting hurt like that. But listen, if a guy hits me in the rib cage or in the back instead of lower knee or in my head and hits through me and knocks the piss out of me, guess what, man? You get paid a lot of money, and that's what his job is to do. So when do the defense get a chance to fair play?
Right.
I'll tell you what, and if that was a wide receiver that got hit like that, Al-Shaair wouldn't have been out 3 games. I'm guaranteeing you that.
Probably right. There's 2 things here, though, Sals, where I think this story has really embodied a lot that's going on in our country right now. One is, since 2016, regardless of how you feel about Donald Trump, whataboutism has been the way that people argue against the point you're making. They don't argue the point you're making. They argue, well, he did this and he did that. And I feel like I have a shitload of respect for DeMeco Ryans. I think he's one of the best coaches in the league. I like the way he holds himself behind the podium. Everything about him is great. But the first thing out of his mouth should have been, that's a dirty hit. That has no place in our league.
Agreed.
And he's sitting in front of a microphone blaming the Jaguars sideline for escalating the situation, when if that happened to C.J. Stroud, you want your guys stomping that dude. The other part of this, Sals, is let's talk about the hit, what Runyon said about the hit, and then what happened afterwards, where the helmet's coming off and they can't get him off the field. And he's fighting people. Everything Runyon said is true. So I agree with you. And for guys like us to talk about this for hours a day, sure, let's take it to the slide. I don't like Caleb Williams weaving on the sidelines and ducking back in. I'm glad Dan Campbell, I got that clip. I want to get your response to it, or what he said the Lions should do to that guy. But the thing that I'm really shocked by is how quickly we left the realm of, this is a dirty hit, Trevor Lawrence is out for the season, to this, people are being mean to this guy on Twitter, and it reeks of the way that we deal with all issues in this country.
You are 100% correct. Listen, I've tried to compartmentalize and separate the two.
Right.
I torched DeMeco Ryans, who I love. I think he's phenomenal the way he defends. And you know what? Defend your players. Shit, I'm with you. I get that. I said, DeMeco Ryans is right about the fact that he's vouching for the character of his player, as he should. Hell, we all vouch for our teammates, right? I think he was a coward if he didn't vouch for his teammate on a podium or not. Most good coaches do, even if they don't fucking believe it. And I think DeMeco does, because he had him in San Francisco. I get it. So the compartmentalize, sticking to the Lawrence thing, you're right. You can't hit him like that. You just can't. I do understand the argument of, well, where's the precedent? I mean, other guys have been, but we're talking about this. I'm focusing on this. Yes, the hit was wrong and you can't do it. And hell, Trevor Lawrence, the Finch clips, that's dangerous stuff right there.
It's scary.
Hell, I'd have probably given him more of a hall pass, meaning Al-Shaair, had he come in there and it was his helmet that he left his feet and his helmet clipped his chin or what have you. But he came in there and threw the extra stuff with the forearm shiver. I agree. and all the stuff after. I think all the stuff after is a big part of it too. It felt like it was non-remorse. So you wanted to fight everybody. And I said on my show when D'Amico said, well, those guys on Jacksonville went overboard. I said, I basically, without saying he's full of shit, said he is, because I said, if I'm a teammate, I said, if that was reversed and CJ Stroud got hit, your guys will be out on the field chasing that sumbitch down, trying to knock him out. And if you're not chasing that sumbitch down, trying to knock him out, you're a bitch-ass pussy, okay? That's the way I look at it, because your teammates are your family, and it's like a pitcher. Two of your guy homers and gets hit, and then the next guy homers, and then your next two players get, plucked in a rib cage with 98-mile-an-hour fastball. And if I'm a pitcher in the dugout and my manager has to come to me the next inning and say, I need to see some a little, not headhunt, but right. You shouldn't even have to come up and ask me what my response. I don't care if it's the second inning. I don't care if it's the eighth inning. Well, what if he get kicked out? Well, fuck him. He got kicked out. Okay. You throw at him and you protect your players. You do it the right way in the ass or in the rib cage, but you don't headhunt. So if you got to ask me, then I already got a problem with my pitcher. It's the same thing here. Sure. You cheap shot my guy. It's like hockey. When they cheap shotted Gretzky, what did Semenko do? Chase his ass down, and you're going to deal with it, whether it's that game or 3 games later. But I am 100%. I'm on Jacksonville's side. I'd have gone after him too. And they should have. But on the other side, I know you're trying to guard against it. All started there. So that's the part of that game. And D'Amico's wrong. The Texans, if you tell his Texans not to go after the guy who did that to his team, his player, then I'd have a problem. And I don't think D'Amico would approach it like that. He's protecting his player. On the big picture, and you are right about the Trump thing and all that stuff, is that the rule blows. I'm just telling you, and I have yet to talk to a quarterback who tells me that they love the quarterback protection rules. Well, I'm trying to guard against the concussion for everybody. We should not be, aside from the Al-Shaair stuff, good, vicious legal hits should be okay. We overprotect them, which makes it feel like, well, it's not the quarterback's fault, it's the rule. They're tough, but problem is the rule is set up for them to take advantage of it. The defense deserves better. Al-Shaair deserved a suspension. He deserves a fine, and I would have gone after him too if I was Jacksonville. And his optics afterwards, I think had something to do with this guy doesn't care. He wants more of it. Let's extend it to 3 games. I do think the post part of it had a lot to do with it.
So Casario comes out. I don't know why the general manager is speaking for this, by the way, but he defends the player too. And he says some very strong things. He says he embodies everything that this organization is about. He's at a charity event right now. And I was like, that's interesting, because I don't think anybody is attacking his character off the field, but also we don't have the perspective of being in that building, seeing the way that guy goes about his business. But Sal's, you've been in radio a long time. I was in radio a long time. Sometimes you get bad ratings books, bad PPMs, and you're like, I'm not doing anything different. Like, what's going on here? And I always go back to control what you can control, do your prep, try to do your best shows, and put your best foot forward. How is this doing anything to help anybody? This Instagram post here, he's got a song by Lefty Gunplay playing. He's got the Joker up there, the middle finger. You want me to be the villain? Like, your coach and your general manager just came out and jumped on every grenade they possibly could. Now they're getting criticized by Dan Patrick, by Rich Eisen, by everybody in the media. I just wish these guys, I know it's got to be frustrating. I know to sit there and be a competitor and you have a finite amount of time to play this game. And I agree with you what you're saying about these rules. But, man, if that guy is the leader you're talking about and he embodies what the Houston Texans are, stay the hell off social media until these 3 games have been
right. And once again, back to the compartmentalizing part of this is I'm sure he's a great guy. I have never met him. I'm sure he's a great guy and a great charitable guy and goes to – I'm sure he is, and he's a team captain. I'm sure they love him. But dirty hits are dirty hits.
Right.
And he can't – and it's as if you and I were on the same show today, because when that happened, I asked my co-host, I said, you know what? What good does this do for your reputation moving forward, and for to validate what people you want people saying about you on the good side? I said, I don't get it. I mean, sometimes it's just better left to you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you use them accordingly and just be quiet. Take it, move on. You got your punishment. And then his teammates are commenting on it and defend. I get it. Like I said, we'd all defend our teammate, even if it's like, damn, how can I defend them? You would. And no, that's not the embodiment you want your team to play like. I'm sorry, it's not. You want your team to play hard, hit clean, and not get suspended and not get fined, and then not come out with that one. Now, if he wants to come out and say, I played hard, I had remorse when he's, his Instagram post after the game, but to come out and do that, to me, it just reeks of, if you're the NFL and you're the infraction people, and he gets close another time, what are you doing? You're going to say, once again, he didn't learn his lesson. Of course you are. He plays hard, but playing hard isn't always playing smart. That's what people don't get. Well, he's a great guy. I'm sure he's a great guy.
Sure.
I've got plenty of pricks on the field that are phenomenal people off the field. Hell, hockey goons are the best in the world, the best guys in the world. You want to party with them. You want them to go to your charity event, but you sit in a bar and square up because you run into a guy who looks, he's 200 pounds. You think he whip his ass, about 3 punches later, your ass is nose down.
Yeah.
You know what? That's on you for challenging them. Or on the ice when they're beating the dog shit out of each other and then they're drinking a beer after. Okay, you got to compartmentalize. I'm not talking about off the field. I'm talking about on the field. What happened with Al-Shaair? I don't like the length of the suspension, but I do like the suspension. I don't like the hit. I like that he plays hard, but I don't like the result of what he did. It was wrong, and I'm on Jacksonville's side on that. When it comes to this Instagram post, at some point in time, you're just adding to the trouble. I would not have done it. I ripped him for it, and I don't think it serves any purpose other than to have us continue the banter of, oh, now Nick Caserio and D'Amico Ryan. Now we got a challenge between the ears. Do you understand that they're talking about your character, and now you're also now putting it in a bind because of this? And I know social media brings out people's reaction. Some people love that. You know, they love the fight. But as a player, you already put yourself in – it's costing you a lot of money and reputation. And sadly, no matter how clean he plays – from here on, people are still even close to being a late hit. Guess what they're going to do? Right. See, he's got the label now as a dirty player, and if he adds to it, it's going to happen. So all the nonsense that goes on, for me, I can compartmentalize. The rule sucks. The feet first slide, I hate it. I like protecting the quarterbacks to a point, but I also think it's football and it's tackle football. And I also think Al-Shaair made a major mistake with the hit. And we're not even talking about Trevor Lawrence's health. Hell, right. Anybody concerned about him? That's a problem. So, but protecting him and be tougher. Listen, you can be tough and still not want to. We don't need anybody maimed on the field. But if you're going to okey doke the other side, that one of these guys that's fake steps out of bounds is going to get the shit knocked out of him, and they're going to go land about 8 rows up to their mom in the stands, and people are going to wonder why. So that's got to be started to look at as well.
All right, before I move on from the Texans, because I do want to talk about that portion of this, Sal, this was not just a team that was thought of to win the AFC South. This was a team that we're going to challenge the Chiefs. We're going to challenge the Bills. We're going to take the next step. They lose a captain. The Colts are still lurking, I suppose. They've some pretty dubious losses here in the recent past for this team, including the Titans game. But Dolphins, Ravens, Chiefs, I mean, this is not an easy schedule for them to close out the season. And this is a team that had expectations. I know Stephon Diggs gets knocked out. There's some stuff you can't control here, but how big of a loss on the field is it? And how do you feel about, is Houston a team that wins a playoff game? Are they the team that can go to the AFC Championship game? I'm not feeling that much confidence towards their probabilities of succeeding this year in the postseason. At this
stage of the season, Chad, I had more confidence in them last year.
Yeah.
And listen, we could talk about, production over potential. The potential, they're loaded, Rod. They got friggin' great players. The problem is they're underachieving, and the potential is not meeting. The production doesn't match the potential right now. It just doesn't. It's a soft 8-5. Make sure, and I'm not talking about physically soft. It's just kind of, They beat one team that's over 500, and it was a good team in Buffalo, and they held Josh Allen to 9-30, which is a chore because he's such a fantastic player. But other than that, if you're good, you've beaten up on the Texans. They haven't played 4 really good, great quarters. All the good teams have it. So Detroit has. They haven't played 4 good quarters as a full team one time this year, even in the wins. They beat one team plus 500. Other than that, there's danger when they came out of the bye week last year and lost to Carolina. So they're going to come out of the bye week, and they got to go, like you said, Miami, Baltimore, Kansas City, Baltimore. 3 straight games, and you're capable of losing them all. And the way you've played, if you play like you did in some of these games, you will lose them all because the team speed with Miami, we know what Kansas City's all about, and Buffalo, in my opinion, is as good as any team in the AFC, if not the team to beat, maybe along with the Steelers. The Chiefs, they still got some work to do offensively. But, yeah, and then that puts them at 8-8. And then they got to go to Tennessee, who took care of their business. I mean, all the things you did as a defense in the game, and you still lost. So, yeah, there's danger here. And they have underachieved, and losing Diggs, it matters. But you got to be the good team. You got to be able to lose a player and still succeed. You just do if you got any kind of roster. So I love their potential, and at times their production. But C.J. Stroud has not played as well. I can't imagine where they'd be without Mixon right now, and that's the truth. And they're soft up front. They do not have dogs on the offensive line. That's just a friggin' fact. Dogs that will do what some guys do when you do hit a guy late. That doesn't exist right now. Talented, yes. Underachieving, yes. So, hell, the defense is going to have to continue to play out of their mind, and now they lose a guy, obviously, for 3 games. I think it's a playoff team, but I'm not securing the division just yet. I'm just not because of what I've seen. Secondly, playing like this, they ain't getting through January. Yeah. Do they have the potential to win 3 of them, 2 of them? Sure. But potential gives you an apple in a roadmap and gets your ass out. So they got a lot of work to do. Right now, you can go through the AFC. There's teams that are in the wild card position that are better than the Texans are right now. Absolutely.
Denver, I think Los Angeles with Harbaugh as the coach. I completely agree with you. Got some super chats here. We do accept super chats on this show. Danny Diaz, $4.99. Thank you so much. Cam Newton on his podcast advocates for quarterbacks getting the snot knocked out of them all the time. He says if they're a runner, they need to get hit harder. It is easy for Cam Newton to say that as he is built like an Abrams tank and no longer in the game. But I'm kind of giving yourself up and acknowledging that the quarterback position is an important one. Okay, but if you're going to milk that rule, the second you fake slide or dance along the sidelines in and out of bounds, it's Cheney bar the door, you get whatever you deserve, in my opinion.
Listen, I may not agree with some of the things Cam said over his career, and you're right. He walks into a room, you say, man, that guy's a really good-looking outside linebacker. Man, he's awesome. He's 6'5.5" and about 260 and can run and do it all. But I'm with him, and he can say it because he doles out punishment. But they've milked the rule, and I think Cam's saying that. To me, at what point in time are we going to lose the integrity of football? And we're close. And I say, you saw the thing. Yes, I think we're close. And when they said, well, what does that mean? We got to protect. Well, we don't got to protect. When they break the pocket, shouldn't they become football players?
Sure.
When you were in the 7th grade, did you practice sliding or practice using your shoulder, getting down? At least you got some protection, right? And I'm not the Al-Shaair and Lawrence thing. We all, I think we beat that up ad nauseum. You know how I feel. But think about this: if there was no slide feet first rule, Trevor Lawrence would have dove head first, tucked his shoulder, tucked the ball down in that little pocket area. When he got out, dove for the first down. And even if he'd have ran through it as a guy who's 6'6", 225, 230 himself, he'd have got some shoulder. One is he'd be playing this week, and 2 is Al-Shaair would as well.
Yep.
I'm not saying that would, you know what I'm saying? Because it would have been a different approach, and he would have attacked, and the players would attack it different. So there's no question. And like I said, did we have a rash of injuries, honest to God, back in the day when Steve Young was running or Favre got out of the pocket or Montana and Warren Moon? Those guys continued to play. They took big hits from Jack Lambert and all the big and Ray Lewis and all of us. So it feels like we did this. And in the process, we're putting them in more danger.
Yeah.
Yes, when they're out of the pocket, you're a running back, dog. So you better learn how to either in your off season, you better hit that bag. You better run through that old thing we run through where they flip open and come back, or your buddies would be standing there in their uniform hitting you when you run through. Protect yourself. Learn how to protect yourself. Take care of your body. But this sliding first, it doesn't work. And I've seen guys get their cleats caught. I hate it.
Yeah.
And you know what? What if your star quarterback gets hurt with a shoulder injury? Yeah, well, if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. So what do you want me to tell you? It's called football. We don't play. Yeah. If you want to go play touch, we got to do it. Now, somebody cheap shots him in the head, like from 1960 to 2090. Then suspend him, fine him big, hit him in the wallet. Players like their money, hit him in the wallet, and we'll move on. But I've always contended that the more your head's on a swivel and you're playing that type of football tough, you actually are in a protective mode and a smart mode. And I actually think that they're safer not sliding feet first and let them play when you break the pocket. It's just like on an interception when the guys yell out "Oski." The first thing they do is hunt the quarterback's ass down.
Sure,
always. So what is it? Some quarterback, if you want to run to the sideline, then take your ass to the sideline. But you know what? You better get in the weight room and you better learn how to run through like those backs that have to do it or receivers have to do it. I don't give a hall pass on it. You break the pocket, you're fair game.
Two little additions to your point. Randall Cunningham ran all over the Washington Redskins when they had Wilbur Marshall and Charles Mann and Dexter Manley. They had
Randall
killers.
Cunningham is the ultimate. Well, listen, Randall Cunningham and Michael Vick was a stud too. He may be 6 feet, but Michael Vick was powerful. Randall Cunningham, can you imagine him playing in this league with his movement and his arm and all the things he does?
Size, sure.
Yeah, Randall was so good he could punt it 70 yards and catch the damn thing himself. I mean, guy was phenomenal. So. And it's not to dog the current quarterbacks or plays. I think if you sat them down in a conference room, Chad, I do. Yeah. You and I are having beer. To a man, I think they'd say they hate the rules. I do. I think they think they're too protective. And I don't think any quarterback likes that the tag of, could they have played? Yes, Brady could have played in 1980. And yes, Mahomes could have too. And I can tell you right now, Jim Kelly could play now, and so could Marino. So as a lot of people could. The rules are just set up way too much, kind of like Rob Manfred giving us a golden at bat. What a dipshit rule that is. That's for another day. So we change rules just to change them. How about just leaving football and baseball the hell alone and let them play? But get rid of this football quarterback sliding rule, and we'll put more respect on the quarterbacks too, as will defenses.
Last one here. I know we got to get you out of here. Spider Clan, $5. Thank you so much. Love the truth, Sal's. Pass the line. Your fair game is really the only way to be safer. That's one thing I kind of wanted you to expound on a little bit before you get out of here, Sal's. Every guy that I've heard in your capacity that's played the game at a high level says the same thing. The way quarterbacks get hurt is in the pocket, is blind side, blowing up in the back. When they're actually out running around, controlling their destiny, I've heard most guys say that's actually a better option for them. To your point, where you can run, you can be aggressive, you can slide, you can get down the way you're saying, but just giving yourself up to me is akin to, all right, my back's turned to you and my tackle's falling down and I'm getting a face mask in between my shoulder blades.
No doubt. And when you're out, okay, I broke the pocket. You're aware, you're looking, guys coming this way. I'm not taking on two linebackers, or I'm not taking on Polamalu. My ass will jump, I'll dive, or I'll get to the sideline. I'll get a few yards. You can still give yourself up with going out of feet first slide. You know what I'm saying? And most guys, when you go down, and then you apply the rule that we're not going to spear a guy when he goes head first, but become a runner and just be smart about it. The biggest hits I ever took in my career had zero to do with breaking out of the pocket. You know when they were? Sitting in there, the guy comes from a backside, you miss a backside slot blitz, and he hits you in the back. At least, and if he hit you clean, you loved the guy. You turn around and thank him for at least hitting you in the upper back, not the lower part of the leg, or hitting you in the back of the helmet. And we all dealt with it. And all the guys I named are still talking football, are still chugging along, still made it. Most of them doing good things. I don't know what's going to happen when we're 90, but most players don't.
What happens to everyone when we're 90?
The guy who doesn't get hit in the head, the non-quarterback, is walking around with problems as well. So the biggest, worst hits I ever took were pocket related. Real quick, before I let you go, and I'm sorry. I was playing in a game against, this is honest to God truth. We were playing Cal on Strawberry Hill when I was at SC. Ron Rivera was outside linebacker at Cal. Man. And Ron was a friggin' beast, monster, right? Yeah. It's like the first or second quarter of the game. I dropped back to pass, and I wore rib protector that year. Well, that game. After that, I took it off, and I'm going to tell you why. It was later in the season. I threw a ball like a deep dig route. I can't remember what the route was. And Ron hit me in my rib cage. Clean. Great hit. And he hit me so hard. It was the first time in my life, and maybe the only time in my life, that I literally, and I'm not joking about this, I thought I was dying on the field. It was as if he hit me, when you that feeling when you can't catch our breath, right?
Oh, sure.
But this felt different than the wind got knocked out. And this felt like my rib went into my heart, my lungs punctured. I mean, I'm sitting here literally looking up at the sky, and it's like everything slowed down. And I was laying on my back, and I couldn't breathe. And I'm thinking, I'm going to die in Cal Berkeley. I'm going to die here. When those crazy ass thoughts go through your head.
Sure.
And they come out there and they're doing, I can't breathe. And so end up coming out, beat up, go finish the game. And you think, I'm not dead, but I thought I was dying. Good, clean, legal hit. Like 2.5 months later, I wake up in bed and my rib cage still hurt. So I said, if a rib protector's not doing it, I don't want to be cumbersome. Get this shit off me. And it was in the pocket, clean hit. And had I been outside the pocket, Ron would have never been able to get that hit because I wouldn't have let him. I'd have given him shoulder. I mean, I was 6'5", 230. I'd have let him hit me, and it would have hurt, but it wouldn't hurt like that. So, and I still, Ron to this day, I still look at it, I say, dude, I still can't breathe. Okay, and when I think about it, I about pass out. So we just gotta be smart, put some onus on players, both offense, defense, to be smart. But let's get football back to being what we know. Let these guys, when they're outside the pocket. And I think defensive players will be smarter about it right now. Because at the point in time, if you're going to keep getting fined or you're going to keep getting these things where the quarterback okey dokes you, what's your thought process? If they're going to find me, I'm going to get my money's worth. And we don't want to get to that point. So, yeah, as a quarterback, my head tells me, because I'm so fucked up, is let me be a defensive guy. But my speed and lack of ability to go hit somebody in the open field tell me, let me stay at quarterback. I'll get rid of the ball on time in the pocket because I ain't beaten anybody outside of it.
Highlight of my week is talking football with you, Sean Salisbury.
Thank
you
so
much
Thanks
for the time today,
brother. I love the conversation because it brings out so many emotions, right?
So many great stories.
There can be right and wrong in all of them, and in this case, there was and still is.
We got to get a picture of that hit. I got to get a picture of that hit from you.
If you get it, don't show it to me because I may pass out and die when I see it. Okay. I mean, I'm telling you, I said, Sean, you're going to die. What are you going to? I mean, you're going to die right here when you get hit, and you're like 19 or 20 years old. What a bummer! You had such a bright future.
I could just totally picture that as we're sitting here. Thank you so much for the story,
Sal. Great to talk to you. Have a great one.
The great Sean Salisbury. Please to be giving him a tweet at Sean Unfiltered on X, and he is the best in the business, in my opinion, and he's done whatever show that I've been on since I've been asking him, so greatly appreciate him. Send him a tweet and let him know you appreciate his time on the show. Spider Clam, thank you for the super chat, and I agree with you. If we can have a conversation that leads into Sal's regaling us with one of his tales of almost getting murdered on the sidelines by Ron Rivera, then we've done our job as a sports talk radio powerhouse. Both types of sports is presented by Dream Stay Getaways, friendos. It's winter. You're going down to Florida, you're going to Universal, you're going to Disney, check out their houses. Don't book through Airbnb, don't book through Verbo. Go to dreamstaygetaways.us. There is a link in the description of this video. There is a link scrolling on the bottom of this video right now. If you're listening on the podcast, it's dreamstaygetaways.us. They got beautiful homes. They're on resorts, water parks, all kinds of crazy shit. They got big screening rooms. They got arcade games. They got all the stuff your kids will want. If you want to save a couple of bucks and not buy tickets to Disney that day, there's plenty to do. These houses are big and beautiful, and I know the owners, they keep them tip top. Dreamstay Getaways, .us. Go check them out for yourself. They're on Instagram, plenty of photos. And again, book through the website if you're going to Disney this winter. It is a no-brainer if you ask me. Speaking of no-brainers, make sure you subscribe to Both Types of Sports on iTunes and Spotify for free. You go to tinyurl.com/BTOS Apple or tinyurl.com/BTOS Spotty for either. Leave a 5-star review. That greatly helps us, and it don't cost you nothing. All right? All right. Very, very good. Wow. Going to be tough to keep up that level of intensity, but we're going to do our best here on the program. I did want to, before we move on from the suspension of Azeez Al-Shaair, and I don't agree with Sal's. I think 3 games is good. Do this for yourself. I talked about this on the Chad Duke show today. I agree with everything Sal said about quarterbacks being overprotected, about guys that are milking the rules, they deserve to get hit. I agree that defensive players, their job is almost an impossible riddle at this point, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a guy with recidivism when it comes to these issues. He has made nasty hits on the sidelines. He's done the rape choke to fucking Tom Brady. Go back and watch during the hit. It's crazy. Go look at the packages he's talking about. Now, the reason why I don't necessarily say that's the be-all, end-all is when I was getting canceled, I had 20 years of making dirty jokes on the radio, making dirty jokes on podcasts. If you were to go back through and take all of my offensive jokes and put them together, like, oh my God, look at this guy, he's a sexist, hate monger, blah, blah, blah. You could do that. And if you've been playing football at a high level in the NFL for years and years and years, I'm guessing everyone's going to have a package of them hitting a running back on the sidelines or dragging a quarterback down by his horse collar. Like, it's going to happen. So I'm not saying that's the only reason why this suspension is worthwhile. People don't want perspective. They want tiny little bite-sized morsels that they can condemn you by. But vicious, dirty forearm, knocking a franchise quarterback out for the season, getting up, fighting everybody, ripping your helmet off, won't leave the field, starting a skirmish on the way out. Everything John Runyon said about the way this player handled this situation is correct. And I don't think it goes above and beyond to question his sportsmanship. If they're questioning his character as a human being, yeah, that goes too far. This is still a dirty, dirty sport, brutal sport, gladiator type shit, big alpha males wearing armor. I take that into perspective. But Trey Wingo, when I'm putting this tweet up on the screen if you're listening, had this to say. And it was in response to Adam Schefter reporting that Trevor Lawrence is now on injured reserve. His season is done. Trey Wingo said his season ended by an illegal hit that led to a fine, ejection, and suspension. Should Shaair be allowed to return before Trevor can? That's a question, not a statement, of course. I think it would have been more impactful if it was a statement. This is some Old Testament shit right here. And I'd be interested in your take in the chat in response to this. I'm not in favor of this. I'm not. I don't think that if you do something in a game that results in injury, that your punishment should necessarily reflect that. If that's the reason why this is 3 games instead of 2 games, so be it. So be it. I know that's slightly hypocritical, but I think that is an interesting question to ask when you talk about the impact that it's going to have. And look, Jacksonville's season's probably over, but switch it. What if that was CJ Stroud? This is a team that's fighting for the division. This is a team that has designs on winning multiple playoff games. And now your quarterback and your season is over with because of a forearm shiver, because of an illegal hit. I can see the argument. I could see why people want to make that argument. It's not my argument, but I can understand someone asking that question. It's both types of sports, Chad Dukes. I have a clip here. I wanted to show this to Sal's. Sal's would look. I have to not take advantage of Sal's. As a host of this show, Sal's would keep going. But Sal's has got multiple shows he does a day, multiple hits he does a day. It's my job to get him out of here in half an hour. And he always goes an extra 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. But he would keep going because you could just tell the guy's got a passion for talking football. So I'm looking at my show lineup here, and I got 10 things I want to ask Sal's, right? I'm really lucky if I get to 3 of them. Whenever Tor's on the show, I say the same thing, prep one question. Because Sal's is going to have an informed take, and then he's going to have stories, and he's going to have personal interactions with the people that we're talking about. He's going to have it all. He's a total package. So I wanted to ask Sal's about this. There's been a lot of discussion afterwards about the way the quarterback position should be dealt with. And I think most of you know that I'm not a big fan of players that are playing during an NFL season having a podcast. But, you know, if I was still on the radio, I'd be very grateful for them because these get out there and they say shit they should. They've got weak. I mean, Micah Parsons' cast alone has killed so many quarter hours in sports talk radio this year. Some edible arrangements should be sent to him by the members of the media and the DFW. And I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like the Detroit Lions. And I actually like this take. But this is from his podcast where he is talking about a tributary of this issue, an offshoot of this issue on quarterbacks taking advantage of this clemency, taking advantage of these rules that protect them because they are so goddamn valuable being on the field. This is Amon-Ra St. Brown talking about his head coach, Dan Campbell, giving instructions on how to deal with Caleb Williams, who very Pat Mahomes-like, likes to do the bit where he swerves up and down the sideline where it looks like he's heading out of bounds. Defensive players don't want to get fined. Defensive players don't want to get penalized. They pull up, I skeeter around the corner, get an extra 4 or 5 yards, maybe pick up a first down. So this is an active player on the Lions talking about what his head coach said on how to handle that.
Craziest part is before the game or in our team meeting, Dan was talking to us, and he was showing clips of Caleb like going out of bounds, going back in, going out. He said, "No, you don't." The beginning of it was, "No, you don't," and then it was just clips of him doing that. He goes, "If he does this, we're gonna hit his ass." And he's already warned the refs. The refs know. So when it happened in the game, like, I already know there's no flag because
he was not
out of bounds, came back in.
So all you have to do is warn the refs. What am I missing here? All you've got to do is go to the officials beforehand. Hey, come over here, Zeb. Come over here, Zebra. You see that guy over there? If he tries to go out of bounds, my guys are going to kick the shit out of him. Sign me up. I'm having that conversation with that official before every time I play a mobile quarterback. And most quarterbacks in this league are at least somewhat mobile at this point, right? Only a few that aren't. I'd probably put Kirk Cousins on that list. Monty Eskew, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. We do accept super chats here on both types of sports, just in case you were suffering under some delusion that we don't. Tore out walking per today. On the plus side, more Chad and Sal's. Tor has got a Joe job that keeps him occupied until 5:30. God bless him. I'm happy for him, but both types of sports waits for no man. Thank you, Monty, for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. All right, let's finish this up. Well, let me just start this over.
The craziest part is before the game, or in our team meeting, Dan was talking to us, and he was showing clips of Caleb like going out of bounds, going back in, going out. He said, "No, you."
Caleb Williams is so fucking annoying, by the way. I'm sure he's going to be a good quarterback, and maybe he is now with the, with Eberflus gone, an offensive coordinator that he's vibing with, taking over the play calling job. That's of course, been groomed under the tutelage of Sean McVay. It's probably going to take Ben Johnson coming to town or Cliff Kingsbury coming to town. Go ahead and hire Cliff Kingsbury and see if you end up in the Super Bowl, Chicago. You go ahead and fucking do that. No disrespect to you Commanders fans. I know you're riding high. That offense looked unstoppable. You fucking assume that Cliff Kingsbury is going to go ahead and be a good head coach in any league. We know he can dial up an offense. We also know he's not a very good head coach. We know that. So I don't know if he's on the list. They had him in the building and decided to fucking move on. I hate Caleb Williams. Peter for $1.99 super chat. I don't know what it is. I don't hate him. I don't hate Caleb Williams. He's fucking annoying. It's not just the wait till you see my fit at the draft. I've got the nail polish, all this fucking shit. Clean up after yourself, veterans. Like, he's just annoying. And I think he thinks he's Patrick Mahomes in the way he plays. And you ain't earned that. Remember in Gangs in New York? Bill Cutting sitting over the prone fucking body of Amsterdam. Everybody's saying to cut his fucking head off. He ain't earned the death. You ain't earned the ability to weave along the side. Like, I hate when Pat Mahomes does it. I think Pat Mahomes is a square. But he's also one of the greatest quarterbacks to ever fucking play. Just because you grew up watching Pat Mahomes play and you're on an offense in college where you could run around in the backfield for 7 minutes before you throw the ball downfield doesn't mean that you've earned that level of respect in the NFL. I just think he's annoying. He certainly makes some exciting football plays happen from time to time. But anyway, Dan Campbell.
Don't. The beginning of it was, "No, you don't." And then it was just clips of him doing that. He goes, "If he does this, we're going to hit his ass." And he's already warned the refs. The refs know. So when it happened in the game, like, I already know there's no flag because
he was not out of
bounds, came back in. Jack hit his ass. We're like, yeah. And everyone on the Bears like, what the? That's a flag. We're like, bro, he went out, literally came back in and took it. Like, damn.
Yeah, no, he never stepped out of bounds. So like,
no, you don't.
I've seen a lot of Packers fans and Bears fans specifically hurl allegations of dirty play at the Lions. We're going to find out a lot tonight about that division. 9-3 Packers travel to Ford Field, 11-1 Lions. The line as we started the show today, Detroit only favored by 3.5. So for those of you that don't gamble, that means the boys in the desert believe that Detroit is only half a point better than Green Bay on a neutral field. Lions are 9-3 against the spread this season. Packers are 6-6. Packers, I think, have won 7 out of their last 8 games, which is unbelievable. Packers are a damn good team. And you're talking about teams right now. I don't want to say they're moving in a different direction because the Lions are still at worst number 2 on everybody's power ranking in the NFL, probably number 1 for most. But heading in tonight's game, no NFL team has more than 7 defensive players on injured reserve, and Detroit has 13. 13, including Aiden Hutchinson. So the numbers game is adding up. Packers have a chance to really establish themselves here. And I don't know why. Is Matt LaFleur in everybody's conversation for Coach of the Year? Help me out. Help me out if you're listening. There's 85 of you in the chat. That's a foregone conclusion, right? Like, who's in the Coach of the Year conversation? Jim Harbaugh? No. Yes? Sean Payton? Sean Payton's got to be. Sean McDermott? Sean McDermott is my Coach of the Year. I got on this show. Go back and listen to the podcast of the fucking preseason. The window was closed for me and the Buffalo Bills. I thought they were a 9-8, 10-7 team, wild card round, one and done. God damn, was I wrong. Tomlin has got to be, it's almost a foregone conclusion. Tomlin should just be in the final 5 every year. I mean, he never has had a losing season. And honestly, I wish there was somebody with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm bloviating here. I wish there was someone with the Pittsburgh Steelers that would go back through. You don't even have to go through the fan base. All right, fan base is crazy. There's not a more spoiled fan base in the National Football League, I'd even say more than the Chiefs, than the Pittsburgh Steelers. But go back to the media members in that town, in the Steel City. They were demanding Mike Tomlin be fired this year. Demanding, shitting all over the Russell Wilson signing. He's trading Kenny Pickett. He's trading Deontay Johnson. By the way, one of those players is getting benched for not going into the game now. What the fuck happens to wide receivers once they leave Mike Tomlin's tutelage? That man should be put in charge of Arkham Asylum. He would whip Clayface into shape, the Riddler, the Joker, Two-Face, Mr. Freeze, Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn. Go down the list of the rogues gallery. Tomlin could have them lining up and running a button hook. There's nothing but lunatics that play wide receiver for that fucking organization. And they keep it together when Tomlin's the head coach. And the second that he isn't, it's wild, man. I wanted to give a verbal nod here before I wind things down. This is only an hour show. Suck my dick. And I know Spider Clamp's in the chat. I want to give some prop heroes some verbal nods here to Tua Tagovailoa. And I usually don't do that because I'm one of those Tua soft guys. I'm one of those the Dolphins are soft guys. I'm one of those the Dolphins are never going to win anything because they play in Miami. Patrick, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Take the Packers plus 3.5 and the over. Thoughts? I like it. I like it. I like it. If the Lions didn't struggle the way they did in the second half against the Chicago Bears, I might feel differently. But this is a team that's been winning for a long time, and they've got a lot of injuries piling up. And they've already got a win in Lambeau. I think I like that. I mean, that might be. I'm not officially putting the shoot stamp of approval on that. Maybe you put those together. Thank you for the super chat. Tua Tagovailoa came out this week. And this is a season where wide receivers are blaming the coach. Wide receivers are blaming the quarterbacks. guys that are getting the ball, leading the league in receptions, are bitching and moaning. I don't even want to talk about what DJ Moore has done this season. The Dallas Cowboys are fucking ridiculous with the blame game. The notion of internalize instead of externalize, I still think is what's best for business, especially when you have as many teammates as you do in the NFL, especially when the last thing you want to do is get in front of a microphone and say something that is going to give the media vultures fodder to go to your coaches, go to your position coaches, go to your teammates, and ask them about the bullshit that came out of your mouth. And to that note, Tua Tagovailoa was asked about this season and the record that they have. They have a very disappointing record. Much of it can be directly attributed to the Dolphins going 1-3 during the time that he was out with yet another concussion. They go 3-1. They're 7-5. They're in the thick of the AFC playoff race. They're right there because their offense can still go. And because of the fact that he made a stupid bonehead play initiating contact, we all saw it, we all remember it, he made himself unavailable. Now, is that the same as getting a DWI or getting into a bar fight and getting suspended? No, he's out there playing football. But he still made a boneheaded play and made himself unavailable. He's the most important player on that team. Guys are going to miss performance bonuses. Guys are going to miss Pro Bowls. I mean, it's more than just wins and losses. It's a big fucking deal, especially that offense. Tua could run that offense. You think anybody can run Mike McDaniel's offense? Look at the two nudniks that went in there afterwards. Should they have gone out and gotten Tannehill? Should they have gone out? I don't know. But they might be better off than they are now. Tua said this, quote, about their record. I don't think that it shows the character of who we are as a team. Doesn't show the work we've put in this offseason. But nobody else will say it but me, and I feel like it has a lot to do with myself. Obviously putting myself in harm's way in the second game. Going down, basically leaving my guys out to dry. That's what I would say. Anyone can have an opinion about it's football, it's this, it's that, but I take that to heart as well. So I don't want to do that to my guys again. This isn't virtue signaling. This is 100% true, 100% accurate, and 100% the right response. And give him credit, because I don't think Aaron Rodgers would make this statement right now. I don't think Caleb Williams would make this statement right now. I don't see a lot of someone going out there and saying, I fucked up. I should have been out there on this field and I made the wrong call. And because I wasn't, our season isn't living up to what it should be. There's a lot of, we got to fight and there's always next week and we got to work harder and we got to protect it. That's true too. But even the greatest Tua Tagovailoa critic should allow for the fact that, yeah, that's the right thing to say. And yeah, it's true, but who else says it? How many other guys aren't saying it this year? And Clamp, I know you're coming at it from a fan's perspective, like, why didn't you have a more competent backup? I completely agree. You got a guy with 5, 6, 7. How many concussions does he have now? Although Austin Eckler's concussions seem to be a horse of a different color. I mean, Austin Eckler's still talking about he lost time during that concussion. And I think that's a big loss to the Commanders. For those of you that now think they got right against Tennessee and think they're now contenders in this division, I think they're contenders in this conference, Eckler's a big part of that, man. But how can you not feel good for Terry? How can every top 5 receiver list I see this year, Terry's name is on it? If you can't feel good about Terry McLaurin, you can't feel good about football. You're a miserable fuck if you can't be happy for Terry McLaurin. Doing it the right way, signing a deal when everyone was saying, go, get away from this toxic franchise. Go someplace where you can be happy. He could have been rich and happy someplace else. That dude's wired differently. God bless him. Couple of the stories I didn't get to. Christian McCaffrey and Jordan Mason on IR. Brandon Ayuk out for the season. Deebo Samuel overpaid. What am I seeing? Well, it's all on Brock Purdy. This is where Brock Purdy makes his money. If Brock Purdy here, I'm not paying Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy is not getting paid by me if I'm John Lynch. I got option 1, Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is option 1. And you know what option 2 is? You're not going to like it. No one agrees with me. Nobody's talking about it. Aaron Rodgers wants to keep playing, and the Jets don't want him. Allegedly. It takes a full year to recover from that injury. I know he's 41. I know he's going to be 42 next season. I know he looks washed. I know his shoulders look tiny. His head looks big. I know he looks shallow and callow and weak-willed on the field. I know it. Put fucking Aaron Rodgers on that Kyle Shanahan offense with George Kittle, with a rebounded Christian all those backs, with Brandon Ayuk under contract. But what is it about those 49ers? They can't stay healthy. When they do, they go to the Super Bowl. But Jesus Christ, how many times Trent Williams missing games? Guys all over that defense. And in the middle of all of it, Ricky Pearsall, who you think is a bright spot, that whole horrible story about him getting shot in the chest and who the fuck walks off slugs to the chest? This guy does. He's gone the last 3 games without a reception with all these injuries. By the way, that coincides with the 3-game skid that the 49ers are on. So everybody talking about how this is Brock Purdy's chance to make his money. Sure. If he goes out there and throws for Jameis Winston numbers minus the pick 6, okay. Maybe it's a different conversation. I'm not giving that motherfucker Dak Prescott money. No disrespect. All right. We're going to try to get back on a regular schedule. Tour is coming on Monday. We're going to do the show on Monday at 5:30. I might be doing a little game day shit with you. It might just be me, but I don't mind it. I kind of like the little game day in between. So make sure you got your notifications turned on. Member up. There's a link in the description of this video. There's a link pinned to the chat. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you listen on the podcast. You can go to youtube.com/Chad Dukes Show. There's a little join button there. It's only $4.99 a month. You get the entire back catalog of everything that we do. It don't cost much, and there's a shitload of content available. And the very least you can do, it's both types sports on X. Give us a follow. And thank you for all the super chats today. We usually don't get a lot of super chats on this show, and they're very much appreciated. We reinvest them all in the program. Spider Clam, $10. Thank you, brother. Another amazing show, Dukes. So many amazing points. Well, I'm all pent up. I didn't get to do a show last week. Now, I got to go fix my fucking PlayStation. I want to do a gaming stream. I got to drive up to Commonwealth Dry Goods. I'm going to be packaging up orders. The Shootster is working fucking, I'm Alabama here. 40-hour week for 11. Talk about 60-hour week. I know it doesn't seem like it's the amount I talk, but there's a lot of shit going on behind the scenes. So if you can find it in your Bart of Barts, to go to CommonwealthDryGoods.com, place an order right now. Whatever you want. We got the beautiful peanuts. We got the beautiful records, the beautiful beef jerky, all the Christmas gifts. I will be packaging that shit up today. I'm leaving here, and all 84 of you, and all the grandeur and the splendor. And I'm headed into the shop to do menial labor. You wanted me to be humbled. If that was your goal in this world, humbled I am. And by the way, my penis is not...
Hey, what do you got?
Both types of sports.
Yeah, what's it do? Go long. Real long.